Hey everybody, and welcome to the Paul Kirby Electric Van Man review of the 2023 electric van sales. We're going to be looking at the manufacturers and all the models. So let me deal with 10987 before we go to 6. So 10 was Renault with 876, so that'll be a mix of the new e-Kangoo, the new e-Traffic, and a few Masters in there, no doubt, as well. Now, then we move on to Nissan, and that will be almost entirely, probably, the e-Townstar, the new electric van that is in partnership with the Renault and also Mercedes-Benz Citan. And that brings me nicely to Volkswagen, actually, who 1,188 of the wonderful VW Cargo, VW ID. Buzz Cargo. Fantastic van, has won a number of awards already. So that is a good van and is coming on strong. But it is only the one that they've got in, so hence 1,188. Now, 7th place this year was Mercedes-Benz with 1,276 units. I thought they were going to come on strong at the end of the year, but they didn't come on strong. So that takes us to number 6, which is Citroën. So this tells the story that Stellantis have separated their brands and 1,488 of those. And then comes in a lovely little Toyota. Now, of course, not part of Stellantis, but selling the Stellantis products. And they're doing really well with the ProAce and the ProAce the City, in the ProAce City and the ProAce. And then they're going to go with the big ProAce for the large van, again taking it from Stellantis brands. Then we move into Peugeot and of course Peugeot. Can't spell, but anyway, there we go. Peugeot, you know who I mean. And then the interesting one at number 3 is the mighty Ford. So the mighty Ford come in at number 3, and that is almost certainly entirely the Ford e-Transit, and they came in with a number of 2,283 of them. Wow, that's a lot of one model, but it does tell a bit of a story, because then jumping in with 2,619 sales is Maxus. Now, they did really well last year. I think they came in 4th. I just didn't see them jumping to 2nd. Now, it's almost certainly down to quite a lot of registrations of the Maxus T90 towards the end of the year. But there's also significant volumes of their other models, as we'll see later. Anyway, who is the top spot? And yes, of course, you guessed it, the Vauxhall Stellantis brand comes in top. And we'll see why in just a moment, because we're going to look down at the top models. So, what models make up the top 10? Well, there's the Maxus e-Deliver 3. And of course, you had to expect that there's going to be a lot of those. Now, there was 562 of those. And then we've got the ProAce Icon EV, and with sort of model names, right? So there's 573 of those. We've got the ProAce City, which is the little one. That's good news, again, from Toyota, 600 and odd of those. And then we've got the Combo E2300 Prime. 2300 is the gross vehicle weight, 2.3 tons. And so we've seen a number of smaller vans in that sector. Now, I think the smaller van will grow next year, because I think it's a great option, decent range, good charging speeds, and especially with the upgrades coming from Stellantis, woof, there's going to be some good ones there. So I believe that that will be a real growth figure next year. So in at number 6 is the e-Deliver 9 from Maxus. Now, there's obviously a variety of those been sold in chassis cab formats, but this would be the panel van model. We've also then got the Partner Professional. So that's the one from Peugeot, and that's the Part, we'll call it the Part Prof. And quite a lot of those were sold. Let's just check. 867 of those were sold. And then we have the e-Vito. Now, e-Vito was the majority of all of the vehicles sold by Mercedes-Benz, only just a couple of hundred of the Mercedes-Benz Sprinter, which really went off the boil last year, let's be honest. Not a lot of people were really keen with that 80-mile range. But the e-Vito with its upgrade, 166 miles range, actually much, much better. And then we come, of course, to the e-Transit. Now, the e-Transit was, of course, going to be in that because the majority of these were this. Now, the e-Transit has a number of models available in 25 odd configurations, but it was the 350 litre, so it wasn't the 4.25 tonne, it was the 350 litre. Let's just put that in, the 350 litre. So that's the basic model, but the one that went out. So that was a really good vehicle. Now, the reality is the top two are both the Vivaro, of course, because that is from Vauxhall. There's two different models, the Prime and the Dynamic, and pretty much the Prime, 3,000 odd of them, and then the Dynamic with about 1,000. So you can see that this is a really interesting spread of both manufacturers and different types of vehicles. Not what we would usually expect. And, in particular, I want to highlight Maxus coming in at second, number 2 electric vehicle provider. And what this also tells us about the ZEV mandate is that there's certain brands up here, Ford, that are going to have a bit of a challenge next year, because just 74 vans in December were electric from Ford, 7,000 odd were diesel. What that means is, for me, is they've probably kept a few back, and they're going to be pushing them out early next year, and we'll perhaps see that as they're going to have the toughest job, mainly because they sell the biggest volume, whereas probably Vauxhall are going to have the easiest job. I think Maxus will have a pretty straightforward run at making 10% of their sales. Peugeot, Toyota, Citroën. Toyota, I think, will do fine. They'll do about 10% of their vehicles. Peugeot and Citroën, I don't know how that's going to happen, because obviously the Stellantis group, they're all a big group, so how they're going to balance their registrations, I'm not quite sure. But Mercedes are going to have a bit of a challenge, I would suggest, with just a couple of thousand, well, not even, 1,200 electric vehicles sold last year with e-Vito and so on. So look, this has been an in-depth, more than in-depth for LinkedIn. Normally you haven't got the patience for this, but maybe you did. I don't know. Tell me, put it in the comments. Yes, Paul, we stayed with you to the end. No, Paul, we didn't bother. But if you've answered that question, then you did. But anyway, hey. So interesting top six. The 2023 electric van sales, as reviewed by the electric van man, Paul Kirby. So if you want more like this, click the follow. It'd be great to keep in touch. Get in touch if you've got questions around electric vans, or if I can help you guys make a difference with madness like this and whatever else that you might need in terms of consultancy, media, and training. So we deliver training as well on all of these facts and wonderful more about the big long market. So dip in, have a go, and we'll catch up with you next time.